It's now 7 p.m., Tuesday, May 2nd, 2017, and I call the Selectmen Board meeting to order. Would everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next would be public forum, limited to 5 minutes per topic. Discussion or comments about town employees or agency members shall be avoided so as not to violate individuals' rights. Is anyone here for public forum? Next would be the minutes for the Board of Selectmen on April 18, 2017.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the Board of Selectmen's minutes from April 18th, 2017 as presented.
Second.
A motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So it'd be one abstention, 4 in favor, and 1 abstention. Next would be a proclamation on the Sutton Youth Baseball Proclamation. Jesse?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sutton Youth Baseball Proclamation. Whereas the sport of baseball expresses the heart and character of America, and for many years has been properly recognized as our nation's favorite pastime. And whereas Sutton Youth Baseball is a program which offers service to the youth of our community, dedicated to all providing fun and instructional programs for all children of Sutton. And whereas players, coaches, umpires, parents, sponsors, and countless others work together as a community to provide the opportunity to enjoy baseball and to learn the basic ideals of fair play and good sportsmanship. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Sutton, do hereby proclaim Sunday, May 21st, 2017, as Sutton Youth Baseball Day, given under our hands the 2nd day of May, 2017.
Okay, thank you. And those that can attend on the May 21st, I invite any and all of the selectmen to go to Huff Road, and I believe the parade starts around 11 a.m.
That's correct.
Next agenda would be purchase and sale for additional land at Pigeon Hill Cemetery. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have before you tonight a purchase and sale agreement that has been drawn up and negotiated between myself and George Kowzik. George owns some land behind Mendon Road abutting Pigeon Hill Cemetery. Pigeon Hill Cemetery has been a cemetery in town for over 200 years. As far back as we can find, it's not in the town history, but you know, some of the people buried there died in the early 1800s. The purpose of this is to purchase an acre of land to add additional cemetery lots, as well as potentially a communications tower for the police station complex, the new police station that's being considered down at the former Blue Jay property. It's a high point in town and would provide great coverage if the propagation study that's being conducted right now by a company, Cybercom, that deems it necessary. But ultimately that communications tower, not a cell tower, but a communications tower would be in the back of that lot. If you're familiar with Pigeon Hill Cemetery, you drive up that one-rod lane up to the cemetery, and it would be at the back end abutting the Blackstone National Golf Course. So it wouldn't be visible for anyone, because it is kind of in the back of the hill there. But again, that's kind of the secondary purpose. Really, the goal is to add additional cemetery lots and pave it and have it surveyed out. Right now, this purchase and sale agreement doesn't have the surveyed property until we acquire it, which is a vote of town meeting next week. Then Andrews Engineering will go out and survey the property and Cowsick and the town will have to agree upon the portion that we will acquire, the 1 acre in total. It's most likely towards the back of the lot. You go in and you go up the road, and to the right-hand side are really 2 cemetery areas. One recently acquired, well, within the last 30 years, and then the original cemetery lot where we acquired it from the Congregational Church back in 1944. Up until then, it was a private cemetery for the first 150 years it existed. And then in 1944, it was given to the town for oversight and care. So anyway, that's the issue before you tonight.
Any discussion? Dave?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So there's room in here for contingencies on the purchase side. So it gets surveyed, we determine kind of what location. I assume there's no concern that the actual use of the land would be appropriate for, what we plan to do with it.
Well, the
Say that in English.
first priority would be for cemetery lots, and it would be fine. It's level, it's a relatively flat area up at the top of the hill. The communications tower, a lot of that depends upon the propagation study that's being conducted right now and the results of that. Whether it will aid in the communications of public safety across the town. There's a small issue with communications with public safety. There has been for years.
Right.
But police and fire and highway are able to deal with that. That communications tower may add with the communications, kind of in spite of whether we build a new police station or not. It might aid it overall with the communications. But again, that's kind of preliminary. I think, our goal is to acquire this land and add cemetery lots, have it surveyed out for cemetery lots, and reserve a piece towards the back of the site for potential communications tower.
But the use as a cemetery lot, that's not a question. That'll work fine with
Yes,
the
it will.
location and all that. So, okay, that's fine.
Jesse? Paul?
Yes, thanks, John. It's a great site. I've walked it a lot of times lately. It will be a good location if in the future, if it's needed for the system, and I think it's a good price, and I think we're going to do good, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, I only have one question. My question actually might be directed more to Paul.
Sure.
What would be the approximate footprint for this tower if we are able to purchase the parcel in,
40 by 40?
Ish.
so it's not going to have a significant impact on the plot, so we could still use it for a multi-purpose?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's the only question I really had.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mike?
With that too, you could put the tower anywhere on there, right? You could place it. It doesn't have to be in that particular spot, like lots may have to, or you could have a little wiggle room, right?
Yeah, we can have some flexibility within the acre of land that we purchased.
Now, do we know about approximately how many lots we get from the expansion?
To be honest, I don't know. We did purchase some additional land down at the new Howard Cemetery, and that's been laid out.
Roughly?
Ballpark over 100.
Oh, okay. So if they're going for, I don't know what one goes for up in town.
Generally $500 per.
500.
Yeah.
It's 50,000. Is that math right?
Yeah.
It pays for itself. It's
Yeah.
prime real estate too, up on the top of the hill. I might buy a few myself.
Yeah. People are dying to get in there.
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure, but thank you for confirming that. No, that was it. I just wasn't sure with the numbers. It almost seems like a no-brainer. Like Selectman Maynard had mentioned, the price is right. The amount that we'd be able to get from it as a town and then place back into it to repair the road and possibly even work on the tower
Right.
would pay for itself pretty much. So, no other questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Paul, I guess addressed to you, I want to thank you for all your volunteer time you've put up there and looking over this site and taking your GPS and finding out how much above sea level and everything. And you've certainly been an instrumental person for a lot of these sites in town, and you're well qualified, so I do want to thank you again for all your input.
Thanks, John.
And I think it's a great thing to have for a public safety tower site. But other than that, Pigeon Hill Cemetery, it has an old road, muddy old road. Jim, you've been up there several times. I've been
Yep.
up there with you.
Yep.
And there's beautiful stone walls. If anyone ever been up to Pigeon Hill Cemetery, it's a way out of a way of everything, and it's beautiful. And there's a lot of old families, but recent members
Yeah.
have been up there. Matter of fact, my mother's family, the Putnams, are all buried up there and everything, and there's a lot of them. But it's good to think out of the box, Jim. And if we can get land up there for this 22,000, that's a plus, because we're going to be looking for land someday. As you come down the Armsbury Road now, you got Old Howard, and then you got New Howard. Well, New Howard is just about all filled up.
Yeah.
And at one time, I knew the first person that got buried there. It was a young boy that got killed on a bicycle, ran over by a car on Singletary Ave, and let him rest in peace. But from then, there's been many Sutton families that have been down from all over town. But that whole cemetery is just about filled up. The new site is the site right aside of Old Howard that goes from there up to the next property.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that. It's all been cleared pretty much anyway, and it's in the making. So-
Right.
And we need that, because, this is something that you got to think out of the box with, and it's a time now to do all this. So I do support that. And we do have a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, Agenda 2, motion to approve the purchase and sales agreement with George Kowzik to purchase 1 acre of land off of Mendon Road, adjacent to Pigeon Hill Cemetery, for the purchase price of $22,000.
I'll second that.
The motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Next agenda item would be a 3-year appointment of town accountant. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I typically appoint a number of members to the town operations. I do them mostly in June. I like to take the town accountant individually outside of all those other appointments that are made, because the town accountant plays such a critical role in the financial operations of the town. He's an important and very important member of the financial team. He's a confidant of myself. We share ideas. We generally brainstorm. We don't realize we're brainstorming. We're just having discussions about current issues, and it leads into better ideas. So I really appreciate everything he's done for me, and I'd like to keep him for as long as possible. The most we can appoint him is for a 3-year contract according to the charter, but I would like the board to ratify this appointment for a 3-year term.
Hey, Dave.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nice to have Tim here for this. So I guess that your presence maybe affirms your interest in staying on for another 3 years, perhaps. I don't know. I think we typically use this as an opportunity to joke with Tim maybe a little bit, but not tonight. He does all the things that you say. I mean, my years on the Finance Committee and on this board, we talk a lot about the fiscally conservative approach we take to everything that we do, and how we've really come a long way in the development of our budget, and all the good things that have come about over the years. And we know, without taking anything away from you, Jim, that a lot of that comes from Tim. We strongly appreciate all the things that he does for the town, and we know that, frankly, we're just better off for having him. Mm-hmm. So I welcome him back, and I guess I agree. If we can go longer than 3 years, we'll do that. So we'll talk to you in a few years. But thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Paul?
Tim, thank you. I just think it shows how you operate, by how the funds are moved around the town, how they're managed, and how we look with our, as John says, the AA standard ratings. Thank you, Tim.
Jesse?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tim, welcome back, obviously. There wasn't a departure, but we're glad that you are interested in staying with the town. Just to echo some of the sentiments that were expressed by Paul and Dave, obviously, my time on this board has been relatively short, but the one thing, whenever an issue comes up financially, that we hear from Jim primarily is the team, the financial team. And I know you two work very, very well together. And ultimately, you always put the best interest of our residents first and foremost in all the decision that you make. And I was fortunate that I actually sat in on a brief, discussion between you two on healthcare. And the thing that I respected the most is that you weren't afraid to say no to Jim at times. So again, there's proof that you guys have built up trust, that you work well together. And again, it's not just yes, yes, yes. You're really doing your best to look out for the best interest of the community. So welcome back, my friend. I'm glad you're here.
Mike?
Thank you for all the services that you've done for the town, and it's a pleasure to have you back for the next 3 years and to revisit it to see if we can extend that a little bit more if wanted on your end. But even though, as Selectman Lemanik had mentioned, I hadn't been on this board for a while, but I've been in town for a while and, heard great things about what's going on and what you've done as a team. And, it's good to see working as a team because sometimes, one idea isn't the greatest and another idea, a little added to it, you can come up with a better solution. So it sounds like what Selectman Lemanik had said was that, working together and hashing things out to get the right answer rather than the answer that suits them the best is a great team. So thank you, guys, and thank you, Tim. Pleasure to have you back, or continue having you. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. And Tim, a lot of nice things said, but they're deserved. But you've been here for quite some time, especially the last, say, 8 or so years under the direction of Jim. Both of you work very well together. And the thing that I've been impressed about is the money saved on the low-interest loans, the one-year loans and this and that. It's been economical for everything that you've done there. So you've been able to manage funding even before Jim's time here, and we're glad to have you here for another 3 years, and then we'll go onward after that. But welcome, and I hope you stay, and we're glad that you are here. You're more than a cog at a factory wheel. Thank you. And there's Agenda 3, there's a motion on the floor.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the 3-year reappointment of Tim Harrison, Town Accountant, with an effective date of July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2020.
Second?
The motion's been made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim.
Next would be the Town Administrator's update. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Go through this rather quickly, although there are a number of updates. I start off always this time of year with the budget update. The House has passed their rendering of the state budget. It's now in the Senate's hands. The House increased Chapter 70 by $10 per student from $20 per student that the governor gave us. That's a net of $15,000 to the town. It's a little bit. It doesn't solve any issues. Not that we have any, but obviously we will. I've already spoken to Ryan this morning, saying, we would look to Chapter 70 as our top priority. See if you can increase that at all. So we'll see what happens with that. We also switched our healthcare provider from Maya to Fallon Health. That was a significant change and process that we went through with the Insurance Advisory Committee, probably a 6-month process, and many years going into developing the relationship with the unions through the IAC to develop a sense of trust. So we knew we were working on the same page. I'd like to thank the Insurance Advisory Committee for all their efforts. They unanimously endorsed Fallon Health over Maya, which is a major change. We've been with Maya for the better part of 13, 14, 15 years. But for all of them to agree after hearing the presentations from both sides that they wanted to make the switch to Fallon Health is a positive. We'll see how it goes. It really comes down to the town's experience. If we have good experience, meaning not a lot of use of the healthcare, then we get better rates. If we have bad experience, meaning we use healthcare a lot and we go to the hospitals, and then we will have bad experience, and then we'll have to wait and see. But we're okay for this coming year and hopefully in the future. Town meeting is next Monday, May 8th, at the middle school, high school auditorium. Town election will be held on May 23rd with precincts 1 and 3 voting in the middle school gymnasium, and precinct 2 voting at the usual site down at Manchog Fire Station. We had an anonymous donation at the senior center. An anonymous donor generously donated 2 handrails and installation at the Sutton Senior Center. The town installed a wooden handrail that they wanted a galvanized steel handrail on both sides, and so this individual donated that material and the labor to have them installed next week. So I just wanted to give the board an update of that. I think it was a very generous donation. And we've signed off on that work and have approved of it. So Chapter 90 work, Selectman Lemanik got in touch with me wanting to know what the town's plans are for this coming spring. And while we don't have the dates down, but we do have a general idea of what we plan to do, at least in the first part of summer, late spring, first part of summer. And they are Welsh Road from West Sutton Road to West Millbury Road, Old Providence Road from Boston Road to Providence Road, 8 Lots Road from Boston Road to West Sutton Road, and Uxbridge Road from Central Turnpike to Mendon Road. This is the initial work, probably costing the town about $250,000. We get $467,000 in Chapter 90, which is road work. So we do have additional money that we will look to plan out those streets. We do have a pavement management plan that we are trying to follow. This is not an arbitrary system. It's not who makes the most phone calls and who puts, it's based upon, a scientific approach. We also try to use chip sealing and other methods to extend the life of many of these roads. So a number of different treatments, but these roads will be paved. If you've ever been down any of them, they're just, right now we're spending far too much money on cold patch and trying to maintain them, which gets washed out the minute we have a rainstorm after that point. So it is a process that we continue to address and trying to figure out a long-term strategy on how to address the road issues. Sutton Youth Baseball on May 21st, we've already talked about that. The event starts at 11 a.m. Brush chipping at the transfer station. Again, we will have 2 highway employees available at the transfer station to chip brush for 4 hours on Saturday, May 13th. Stickers are required, but they are on sale right now, as they have been per the Board of Selectmen. 8 years ago, I think we changed that from April to June. The stickers go from $40 down to $10 for the last 3 months. Memorial Day Parade will be held on May 29th, departing from the Common at 11:15 a.m., down to the high school across from the World War II Memorial. We get on, we go off at about 11:15. It'd be nice if the board is here at 10:30, give or take, if you're not participating in any of the events prior to that march. Net metering deal, I'm still working on this. I'm trying to get this done. I think it's a worthwhile approach. It will provide a significant savings on our tax bills. This email is, 4 or 5 days old, so there are some other options that are coming up. I've been contacted by Orlando Pacheco, and he thinks he might have some for WCMA as well as SEMA, SEMA. So we still need to figure it out. I really want WCMA, which is the town hall and the school department. That's where we use the majority of electricity. SEMA is the Manchog Fire Station, the sewer treatment plant, the Council on Aging, probably 250,000 kilowatt hours. WICMA, WCMA, is more like 2 megawatts of electricity. So a much larger scale. But, it's really hard. We're coming down, SREC 1 is gone, we're at the end of SREC 2, we're now in SREC 2B, and these keep changing, and therefore the amount of savings is reduced as a result of the SREC changes. So hopefully we can get this done. I'm still hoping to have a presentation at the next Selectmen's meeting with Orlando and Doreen, but that's, we still have to figure this out and get this deal done. Again, just letting everybody know we're relocating Precinct 3 down at Wilkes to the Sutton Middle School gymnasium. It's an old update. That's all. Oh, and one other item. The board signed tonight a one-year loan order for $671,000 from Eastern Bank at a rate of 1.25%. Again, some success with one-year notes, although the cost of those notes have gone up. As you've seen, the Fed has raised interest rates a couple of times, and those rates are growing at this point, increasing. We've borrowed as low as 0.55 a couple years ago, but now they've been increasing. This 671 will make the town debt-free of all general fund debt, excluding debt exclusion debt. So we have the middle school, high school, and other debt exclusion where the voters vote for that debt. But this is debt for capital plans, the entranceway to the elementary, the early learning center, the tennis courts, all the other general fund debt is now will be debt free at the end of FY18. So that's great news for us. Now we just have the debt exclusion debt that we need to work with. That's all I have for updates, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That was the update was longer than the rest of the meeting, I think.
Sorry about that.
Sorry. Appreciate that. It's a good update. So, just touch on a few things. I assume that our budget captures what we think is the lowest level of funding that we're going to get from the state at this point.
Yes, we are including $20 per student that the governor included in his original proposal. Yep. We're not including the House number or potentially the Senate number. We're going with the lowest number. At fall town meeting, if that number gets voted and approved, we will appropriate those funds.
I suppose the good news of having so little money at play at the state level is that because it takes them so long to get their process done,
yes,
then we have to be done way before that. That doesn't really make that much difference to
Somewhat
us.
irrelevant, yeah.
I wanted to touch on the healthcare thing, and you hit a lot of the things that actually you said it way better than I would have. But certainly all the years of building up to this point with the insurance advisory group. But I just wanted to mention, I guess, appreciation for all the work that has gone into getting us to the point of being able to make these kinds of changes to the health insurance plans. They feel like big changes, and it's the kind of change that I think we have to get to, and we have to, and I suspect there will continue to be changes going forward. And so I think it's just good to have the cooperation that we have, and that comes from both sides, and we just appreciate it. It's nice. As we've said in the past, there's probably some unilateral things we can do, but if we don't have to do it that way, if we can do it through a cooperative method, all the better. And I think that makes it easier to sell to the general population of employees when you have the backing of the Insurance Advisory Committee. So just congratulations, good work. I'm glad it went that way. Regarding the donation down at the senior center, certainly thank you to the donor. That's a very nice thing, and I think personally it just reflects on Michelle and all the good work that goes on down there. That you think back to when the roof was donated for the food pantry, and I think that when you have a place that runs as well as it does and provides as many services and is such a warm and inviting place to go to, that's what happens. People return good things to good work, so good for her. Jesse, thank you for asking the question about Chapter 90. It's nice to have that presented here with the road paving, sorry. I know there's been a lot of discussion around social media about the condition of roads. If you drive outside of Sutton or ride your bike outside of Sutton, you'll know that the roads in Sutton aren't a whole lot different than the roads are everywhere. And the process for paving roads, determining what roads should be paved, and certainly the economic resources necessary to pave the roads is difficult. There's just not a lot of money around. There's not enough money around to do all the work that I think most people would feel is necessary to do. So it's a difficult task, and I know Matt's been working hard over the course of a few years to develop this program to, as you say, take a scientific approach to determine what should be paved. And so, I just want to say I appreciate what he's doing. It's difficult stuff.
It's a challenge.
Do you know do you know how much participation, how much use there is for the brush chipping program that's down?
Last year it was pretty successful, and we got the word out, and the guys were busy for the time they were down there.
Yeah.
So, we may have to have another brush day, and it sort of depends on how many attend this year.
Okay.
If the guys are busy throughout the shift, and then Matt will look to add another either over the summer or maybe in the early fall, because it is. It's a service that people look to, especially those that don't have burn piles or don't have the area to do that. They can just bring their brush down.
Yeah, that's good to hear. It just sounded like something that maybe a lot of people would be interested in, so good. Thank you for the update on the net metering. I guess nothing more to say, then I look forward to hearing from that. And then, lastly, just the phrase, where on the debt side that we're now exclusive of exclusion debt. That's kind of hard to say, but I think again that talks to the long-term planning around the lockbox and the capital plan, and just more evidence. Thank you, Tim, of all the work that's gone into developing our budget over a long period of time. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome. Paul?
Thank you, John. Jim again. Information is transferred very well to us. On Matt's pavement management plan, a lot of towns don't have that yet, and I'm sure with his knowledge and what he's doing, stuff will be completed as is indicated. The railing at the senior center will be well used. As you can see, some people need it down there.
Yeah.
And the present walkway is a little tilted because of the topography of the earth.
Yeah.
And that will save some problems. The brush chipping's a great idea. It gives the people a chance to get rid of it, and we come up with brush chips to be used elsewhere.
Right. Trails and so forth. Yeah.
Memorial Day, hope for sun. And the signboard is already set at the school. It's up, it's lit. The concert tonight will get the first shot at seeing it.
Good.
And vote from Wilkes on voting day
Good. Thank
in
you.
the center. Thank you.
Jesse?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, I also have a couple of points. I'm not really going to get into it about the state, with Chapter 70 money. They play their political games, and unfortunately, we are subject to that. But I think we are very fortunate that we don't have to be reliant upon that. So if we only get $15,000, we'll put it to good use, but it's not like we depend upon that. So again, that goes to the financial team,
So the net metering deal would potentially save twice as much as we're getting from the state.
Right.
So, just as an example.
So hopefully they just get their acts in line and get the budget done, so that way all the municipalities won't be left out on a thread. I would like to also thank the town employees, as well as the IAC, for making the decision on terms of insurance. Obviously, health insurance is something personal. It's important to you who receives that benefit. It's important to your family. But the fact that the town employees were able to also not just think of themselves, but think of the taxpayers as well, and willing to, switch plans, to take this risk, that just speaks volumes. Because ultimately, hopefully they're going to benefit. They're going to be able to still get the same service and care that they've been expecting. But, at the end of the day, with insurance only potentially going up, less than 2%, as opposed to 13. So
that's true.
if we made that decision, we would have to make budget cuts elsewhere.
Right.
So, this is a thank you to the town employees, again, just for thinking about the taxpayers. That's huge. That's definitely generous of them.
Yeah.
Thank you again to the anonymous donor. I know for years the seniors were asking for rail, and last year they put the wooding rail up, but obviously the wood rail only lasts so long. Eventually it decays, deteriorates, and there could be slivers and other situations. So by having these permanent iron rails there, they'll be there for a long time, in the safety of the seniors who go and enjoy the programs. They're thinking of the folks, so that's excellent. Thank you for the update on the roads. I think that's a couple of key points for anybody watching this that hopefully they'll take away with, is that Sutton, we use the Chapter 90 money that we get from the state, and every dollar of it goes into our roads. I remember having conversations with Matt Stencil that other towns don't do this. They use their Chapter 90 money to go out and buy new trucks or other pieces of hardware. We generally use every single dollar and goes back in. So at the very least, $460,000, well, all right, that's a lot of money, at least to me. But, there is this plan in place, and we can maintain the best we can, as many miles as we can, without having to look back at the taxpayers and say, hey, maybe we need an override to do a project. At least we have this stream there. And again, I know Matt puts a lot of planning in, and they use multiple techniques. So the roads that need to be resurfaced will be resurfaced, but there's the chip seal as well. I don't know how many people drove on Sibley last year, but Sibley, the whole stretch was done with chip seal.
Yeah.
So that's going to give that roadway another 5-10 years worth of life.
Right.
This is all kudos to Matt Stencil.
Yeah.
He puts a lot of thought into this, and ultimately, is every road perfect? No, but we're doing the best we can with the nearly 94 miles of roadway that we have in town.
Yeah.
I too look forward to your progress on net metering. Heck, if we could save $30,000, hey, that's definitely better than 15, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Memorial Day, it'd be nice not to have to walk with an umbrella, but I'll do it. It's definitely worth it. And Tim left. I was going to give him one more round of thank you. The strategy of using the one-year notes, even if they're not going to be as effective going forward, think of how much money, again, has been saved for the taxpayers just by engaging in the simple strategy. A lot of foresight, a lot of thinking. Thank you, Jim. And thank you, Tim, if you're still in the building.
He just left, he's nearby.
He literally just left the building.
To start off with the insurance, you hear a lot across the Commonwealth of towns trying to figure out ways to do this.
Yeah.
It's happening. It's great that we were fortunate enough to have a committee that could get them right into it. Even though it's a major change with what we're doing, it's still their plan itself. They're going to have the benefits, and everything is pretty much staying the same from what I heard,
Right.
which is great. Let's see. Thank you for the donor for donating the handrails. It's very generous. It'll help a lot of people. Chapter 90, it's great to see that we've mapped out a plan. If your road's not there now, over time, it potentially could be. 200 plus of the 460 is there, and there's more work to be done. This is a start. You got to start somewhere. And I talked to Matt, and they're doing everything they can down there. And it's not for lack of effort. It's funding.
Yeah. Yeah.
460. It does sound like a lot, but when there's 94 plus miles of roadway, it's a lot of money to cover that.
Yeah.
So it seems like a lot, but we spend it all, as Selectman Lemanik had mentioned, towards repairs, which is great. Youth baseball, 21st. I can't wait to be there. Brush chipping. Just a question on that. With April 1st, the permits go down, the stickers go down.
Yes.
But there's one day to chip, right?
Yes.
So what's the difference of buying your stick, you're waiting till after April to buy it? Just out of curiosity. I didn't get that, I guess. I'm missing something.
What was the question?
So as of April 1st, they go from 40 to 10.
That's correct.
Why wouldn't people just wait till April 1st to buy them if there's
Well,
only one day?
I mean, that's fine if they want to do that. They can't go to the transfer station the other
Oh,
9 months.
I got it. I got it. The transfer state. I thought it was an additional 10.
No.
All right, that's
No, this is-
that's where I lost
This
it.
is to get access to the transfer station.
So with the sticker from the transfer station, you don't pay the 10. You go down there and you can chip.
Yeah.
All right, I get it
Yeah,
now.
right, exactly.
I don't chip, so
Sorry
I
if
wasn't sure about that.
It wasn't that clear, but
Okay,
that's... yeah.
perfect. So people that have stickers, they're all set. If they don't have a sticker, they need to chip or still want to use the dump, it's $10. That's perfect. 29th, we'll have a great parade, and good luck with the net metering. Obviously, any penny saved is
Yeah,
good.
you'll
So-
hear more about that.
The last update was fantastic as of the end of 2018. Save the best for last on that, huh?
Yeah, well, it just came in, I just was notified, probably Friday that we were going to sign the notes tonight, so thought
Now-
that was good news.
I wasn't on the board at the time of the layoffs and all that was going on in town. Living in town, I realized it, but I could just imagine for members that were part of the committees, to see the difference between then and now, and yourself seeing that, and Deb, and just the difference to know that as of the end of 18, what a great feeling.
Yeah, we made difficult decisions during the recession. I mean, we made the cuts when they were coming. We knew that the funding wasn't there, and we made the cuts at that point in time. We didn't delay it. We didn't throw free cash at it and try to extend the solution for another year, because then we'd be in a greater structural deficit. We dealt with the problem. We cut positions, and now we're reaping the benefits of that. So,
Thank you. Thank you for the update. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Jim, thanks for your update. Just under the pavement management, and these roads will all be done with that bituminous overlay hot mix.
yes.
And along with that, if they had to do a catch basin or raise
Yeah,
a
any
cover or something,
structural
any
work
structures,
would also
that'll
be a
be all
part of that.
included in this, so.
Yes, that's
I
correct.
think it's a great thing. They got 4 roads here. There's several others that have to be done, but this is a great start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks to Matt and thanks to you, it's a good program.
Thank you.
Next would be Selectmen's Roundtable and Correspondence, business topics.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to mention quickly Arbor Day. Several of us got a chance to attend the Arbor Day celebrations, and I'll just start by thanking Jen for putting on a great program. And I told her when I was down there that of all the things you get to do as a selectman, Arbor Day turns out to be one of the most fun things to do. So you get to plant some trees with some third graders, and maybe because my kids are so much older, hanging with third graders is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
They are really enthusiastic about what they're doing. They pay attention. They're not bickering back and forth with each other. They're cooperating, and it's really just a lot of fun. So it was a great day. Thank you to Senator Fatman and Representative McKenna for coming down and visiting with us for a period of time, and thanks again to Jen. It was fun. That's all I have.
Paul?
Arbor Day was fun. My 2 teammates here. Michelle has a couple of requests. She indicates the food pantry is doing very well, but there are a few items that don't seem to show up just because people maybe don't think about them. So the list is, she's looking for laundry detergents, spray cleaners, not an advertisement, but like 409, dish soap, hand soap, sponges, beef broth, spinach, raisins, quick bread, canned carrots, instant potatoes, canned spinach, canned beets, tuna helper, chilies, pudding mix, jellos, crackers, ketchup, hand soap, pineapple chunk, mandarin oranges, cookies, cookie mix, tomato paste, and corned beef hash. The items are not on the shelf at the present time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, playing with third graders definitely was fun. I think last year we had 5th graders. This year,
we?
third graders?
Yeah,
Yeah, it
she's
was really
third
neat.
graders,
I mean, the thing is they weren't really afraid to get their hands dirty whatsoever.
No, they liked it.
Yeah, they enjoyed it all. It was a lot of fun. Thank you to everyone who put that together, and obviously, Senator Fatman, Representative McKenna were there, and that was a good thing, and it was nice being with my colleagues, and Jim came down, and it was just wonderful, a lot of fun. I would just like to echo Paul's statement about the food pantry. While they have been doing well, the one thing I think the community needs to remember is that summertime's rolling around, and that is when the food pantry needs are the most significant, because the kiddos are at home. So instead of getting one meal a day, now it's 2 or 3. So obviously, the more generous that the community can be, now keeping the food pantry in the back of their minds, the better off we will be overall. Nothing else, thank you.
Actually, I don't have anything tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome.
It was all covered.
And I haven't got anything either. I'd like to call for an adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn is made. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.